Okay guys, we're going to talk about a new decapping die. This one is from Mighty Armory. We're going to break this apart, show you all the working details of this die, and we'll discuss what it's used for, what it can do. Then we'll actually go over there to the press, the 1050, run some actual cases through it, and show you that. So let's come over here to the bench and break this down. Okay, first we'll just take an overall look at this. Sorry, my hands are dirty because I was just running the 1050. But what we have is the actual die body. You see this is all machined. This is steel, this is aluminum. This is the actual pin assembly. There you can get a look at the Mighty Armory pin. Okay, so first thing we have is this cap. This just threads on. See the nice machined threads on there. There's a nice machined in shoulder that stops this cap perfectly at the height you need it. Just machining on this is very nice. So there's the cap, set that there, and then you get these Delrin bushings. This one here I got is specifically for 223. You can get one for 308. I don't believe he has any others out yet. I'm sure he's working on some. But that one's 223. I also got one for pistols, and it says this one here is for all pistols, so no worries if you get this one. It'll cover your basics. Got some extra Mighty Armory pins to go with that. So, talking about the pin, let's go ahead and unthread the back piece here, and this will expose all the goodies inside. Okay, you get a good look on the inside. It's all machined, and it is machined. There's a shoulder in here that sets everything, so you don't have to worry about adjustments or anything really. You just tighten this all down, and the combination with the shoulder in there, shoulder on this pin guide, or this pin shaft, and this spring and everything, it takes care of everything for you. You can see there is quite a bit of machine time in this die body. I mean, different thread pitch here, your standard 7/8 here. You got the knurling threaded inside, the shoulder in there. So that alone has got some good amount of machine time on that. And then here is your pin assembly. So if you do break a pin, it's replaceable. There's your shaft, and this is what actually goes up and down, and it activates the kill switch. I'll show you that. So this is the spring here, and this spring is stiff. I can't hardly even compress that at all. But this right here, when you're punching out pins, sometimes you have pin pullback, and the purpose of the spring is to flick the spent primer out. So that's what the purpose of the spring is for. So what I like to do, just a little tip for you guys, I do like to put a little bit of plumber's tape on these pins so they don't back out, because sometimes you will, if you don't have these real nice and snug, they start to back out on you, and eventually they could fall out, and then that's when you could damage something. But I don't necessarily like to put blue Loctite on there. I mean, you could, but I like to put just a little bit of plumber's tape. So that's how that goes. And when you put this back together, you want to really tighten this top cap down. You could even put a pair of channel locks on there, because you do want to compress that spring. And the tighter you compress that spring, the more flick action you will get. But you can see that now that I just hand tightened that, the top of that guide is poking up. And what that is for is if you do get a burdained case or a rock or some debris in your case, the pin hits that, and instead of breaking, it just slightly pushes the pin up, kind of like a Lee decapping die. And since this is for the Mark 7, that's the one I got. You can also get it for the ammobot, but this is a 3D printed cap, and inside there you can see there's a little limit switch, and there's a machined, or not machined, the 3D printed piece has a shoulder in it, so you don't have to worry about anything. You just slide this on until it stops, and that positions that little rod just so it's almost touching that limit switch. So if you do get some debris or a Bourdain primer, a Bourdain primed case, it will push this up and activate that limit switch there. And on my machine, you want to hook this up on the Mark 7 up to the remote stop switch. So you can, when the Mark 7, you can get a little remote stop that if something happens, you hold the remote in your hand and it's just got a thumb button. You put this where that one gets plugged into, and if something happens, that little switch gets activated and it'll turn your machine off, letting you know that you have you know, a Bourdain primed case or some debris or something in there. Real quick, forgot to mention, this over on mightyarmory.com is running $99. Now, if you use the promo code podcast, you will get a discount. So, $100. If you're running any kind of like brass processing, either commercially or hobby like I do, you know, breaking pins and running into stuff on, you know, processing brass is a real pain. When something like this really comes in handy for stopping the problem before it becomes a problem. So let's go over to the machine, put this on, show you how it works. Okay, the sensor switch is plugged in. Now what you want to do is you're going to want to take the cap and the guide bushing off. I'm just going to start that in there. I'm going to calibrate my machine. Okay, and then I'm going to take the guide bushing and the cap and put it on. And I do like to put some plumber's tape on here just to snug this up, because this can come loose too. So a little plumber's tape or something fixes that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this all the way up. You can't put this in. Let me just show you. You have to take the cap off to put the die in. So if you have the cap on, it doesn't fit. So you take the cap off, thread this in there, and put the cap on from the bottom. And what I'm going to do, snug that cap on real good, and then I'm going to jog my machine down to the bottom of its stroke. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is bump that all the way down. See, I can't put a card through there. Just adjust it down just a little bit more. So I can't even put a card through there. I'm going to back it up right there. And then I'm going to lock it down. So I'm the card's width. And now, just to show you, you turn on the remote stop, enabled. So now I'll run the machine. The machine's running. So if I hit this switch, I have the optical sensor on, so let me turn that off. The decap sense, sorry. So let's run this. So now if I hit this switch while it's running, it should stop the machine. Okay, machine stopped. Remote stop activated. Hit run. Machine's running. Push that. Machine stopped. And remote stop activated. Okay, so we know that's working. So we'll put that cap on. End cycle. Okay, just grabbed a handful of just random brass. I'll just feed them in here so you can watch. Put one piece in. Just gonna hit run. Another one. I'm just gonna take these out. So if it's a really stuck in there primer, you'll hear that spring flick it. That first one wasn't very tight, so you didn't hear nothing. But let's see if we can get another one here. Hopefully this one's a real good stuck in there one. Oh. So, caps on, machine stopped, remote stop activated. So let's see what we got. Oh, primer did not eject. This is, whatever brand this is, this PSO, these primers are in there. You can see there's got some sealant around there. But on a regular machine, that wouldn't have popped out, probably. And let's just say it didn't. So on the 1050, it would go next to your swage station. And hopefully you got your sensors and everything turned on. You got to swage it, or your swage sensor on. It would catch it. But these are the problems you want to catch before you damage something like this. I mean, if you damage this swage rod, that's a lot more money than replacing a pin or something like that. So you can see I've got multiple of this brand of brass, and they just do not want to come out very easily. And that's good for me for showing you this, because I don't have any Bourdain brine brass. But let's see about running another one. Yep, machine stopped. Remote stop activated. And I probably could, you heard that one. That was that spring flicking that out. So I jogged it down to finish it off. So you can see it popped that primer out. Here's another one. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to let the machine go. Machine stopped. I'm going to jog it down and force that out. That was that spring. Here's the last one I'm going to do. So it's not that the die can't bust these out. I said I could adjust up here some more, but I just want to stop anything before. I don't want to force anything when I'm running at full speed, because I run this at 2,400 rounds an hour when I'm brass processing. So I have my clutch and all that set up as low as I can. But let's run one last piece. Machine stopped. You're going to hear that spring flick it. And cycle. Okay, so we know everything's working perfectly. So let's go ahead and run this machine. We'll start off slow, and we'll work up to that 2,400 rounds an hour. So let's go. Okay, let's run the die. We need to fill up on some cases here. Let's turn the case feeder on. Now I'm going to be trimming also with the Dillon trimmer, and I'm going to have a vacuum running, so it's going to get loud. So at some point I'll cut the audio and we'll go from there. I'm going to start it off slow, 900 rounds an hour, and then I'll kick it up to the full 2,400. So do I think that this die from Mighty Armory is for everybody? No. But this die is for someone who takes brass processing seriously and wants to get probably the best value for their money. For $100, I don't think you could beat this. For all the features that it has and the time spent on machining, I think it's a very good product. But yeah, it's not for the average guy. There's no reason for you to purchase this unless you have an ammobot or a Mark 7. So that being said, I know there's a lot of guys that do have Mark 7 or an ammobot. If you're a commercial brass processor, I would recommend one of these. If you're like me and you just run a lot of cases and you're tired of your machine breaking a pin or some kind of stoppages, this would help you out quite a bit. So go over to Mighty Armory's website, pick one up, make sure you use the discount code podcast. See you guys.